Good morning and welcome to LNG Marketplace Newsflash. Here's the latest news we have selected for you from all over the media. Let's start today with a recap of some LNG deals that were signed by Russia at St. Petersburg International Economic Forum 2019. The Chinese companies are investing in the development of Novatek's LNG projects in the Arctic region of Russia. Novatek has signed a preliminary deal to create a joint venture with China's Sinopec and Gazprom Bank to market LNG and gas to customers in China. We read this on Hellenic Shipping News. According to Marine Log, Russia's Novatek and Sovcomflot, China's Silk Road Fund, and COSCO Shipping have also signed an agreement to establish a joint venture called Maritime Arctic Transportation. The new companies aim to manage an ice-breaking tanker fleet transporting LNG along Russian Arctic coast, known as Northern Sea Route. Also, the Japanese energy company Mitsui will invest in Russian Arctic LNG 2 project, as we read on the Japan News. Novatek has also signed 2 agreements for sale to LNG to Vietnam. Vietnamese market is of great interest due to the fast-paced growth in energy demand, as we read on Kallanish Energy. On the same website, we read that Austrian integrated oil and gas firm OMV has signed a cooperation agreement concerning LNG with Russian state-owned gas company Gazprom. Are the American LNG exports threatened while several countries, including China, turn to Russian sources? On the other hand, Polish oil and gas company PGNiG has signed an agreement with the U.S. venture Global LNG to increase American LNG imports to Poland, as the country seeks alternatives for Russian supplies. This is informed by Reuters. Well, in this situation, Europe reportedly already saved around $8 billion on its natural gas bill last year, as Russia was forced to renegotiate some gas contracts. Given the pressure of the U.S. shale's gas revolution, a rapid expansion of the LNG industry, and EU liberalization of energy markets, as we read on U.S. news and oil price. Now let's move on to some LNG shipping headlines. According to FreightWaves, LNG shipping first and only cooperative called Coolpool is disbanding due to the diverging business strategies of its founding members. The company was launched in 2015 with LNG carriers contributed by 3 owners, Dynagas, Gaslog, and Golar LNG. The idea behind it was to improve the vessel's utilization and allow for the use of contracts of affreightment, a contract of the carriage of a certain volume over a specific time without chartering a particular vessel. 9-strong short-term demand for new LNG carriers is expected to lead to an additional 252 new-build vessels joining the fleet by 2024. In the long-term demand shall average to 50 vessels a year. This piece of news we found on LNG World Shipping. The 2020 sulfur cap seems to have accelerated LNG as fuel adoption. The first 5 months of 2019, and there are already 40 new orders, stated by LNG Industry. Also, the analysts have dramatically revised their LNG bunkering projections. It is predicted presently that there will be 101 LNG bunkering locations by 2025, up from 27 forecasted last year, according to Splash 247. And last but not least, some important news from Europe. The Tornio Manga LNG gas receiving terminal has been inaugurated in northern Finland, being the largest in the Nordic region, as stated by Gas World. Pricing agency Platts received the first transparent bid for cargo of LNG for delivery into Europe. This bid came from Trafigura for a cargo for delivery into Barcelona at the end of July. Platts assesses the Asian spot price with its Japan-Korea marker JKM process. However, this was the first time the company had received a transparent bid for that process in Europe. Well, no wonder LNG regas in Europe remains high. This summer, 126% higher than last year and 24% above the record set in the summer of 2011. Due to the weak demand from Asia, Europe has become the destination of choice from LNG produced within the Atlantic Basin, as we read on Hellenic Shipping News. In this scenario, it certainly comes as no surprise that the first LNG cargo shipped from Sempra Energy's Cameron export terminal in Louisiana is heading to France. Another LNG tanker, due at Cameron, apparently chartered in Spain's Repsol from Russia's Novatek, could deliver a Cameron cargo to Spain. The fact that cargoes are shipped from Europe shows how weak the demand is in Japan, as stated on Finance Yahoo. That's it for this week. Tune in next week for more news, and until then, thanks for tuning in. If you like our weekly news flash and do not want to miss any future episodes, you can simply subscribe to any of our podcast channels, including YouTube, Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Android Podcasts, RSS, and email.